I had a baby. I have had a child. He is 4.5 months old, 19 weeks now. Time has flown and I ain't got no excuses, but making a human and raising a human is one hell of an experience, and I just have not had time to do makeup, hence why I think I've got more blush here. I've missed a spot. My dark circles are out of this. I tried with makeup, but it did not work. So I thought I needed to come on here. Well, it's not so much needed, but everybody that I talk to is asking me, so how was your labour? What went on? What's your birth story? And you know, when you go to mums groups, everybody wants to like exchange stories. And I'm just going to put a disclaimer in here. Like, what my birth was like, a lot of people are like, oh, that's so good, because I was only in labour or active labour for 3.5 hours. But what I need you to remember is that a lot happens in that time. And you might look at it and be like, oh, what's she complaining about? It was only 3.5 hours. Let me get into the story, because it was a mad old time. So I was due October 29th. 40 weeks comes around. My friend just had a baby. No sign of mine. Like, no sign at all. Not really any cramps. Like, I was having Braxton Hicks, but it wasn't like, I'm sorry if the light keeps changing. I'm sitting by the window. It's a bit weird and stormy and sunny today. But like, I was eating pineapple, bouncing on the ball, nothing was happening. And then 2 days after my due date, so I was due on the Sunday, and then it was Tuesday night because I was watching the Great British Bake Off. So sitting there, and like for that whole day, I'd been getting like little cramps. I didn't really know what was happening. I thought, oh, you know, it's just practice contractions, whatever, nothing's going to actually go down. And then it got to 8 o'clock at night, Bake Off was on. I was focused, but then I started timing them because I was like, wait, I've had like 2 in the time that it's taken to watch this segment of the Bake Off. So I started timing, and they were lasting for about a minute, but only every 15 minutes. It wasn't like that huge. So I kept timing them, and it got to about 11 o'clock at night, and they were coming like every 10 minutes then. And like the intensity was just starting to creep up a bit. So I called up my mum, because we had this arrangement that she would drive us to the hospital. So I was like, you know what? I think it might be going down tonight. Not entirely sure. Do you want to come over? Because she lived like an hour away at that point. So I thought it's better her sleeping on the sofa. If nothing happens, fair enough. But I don't want to call her up at like 3 in the morning and be like, oh, get your butt over here, it's happening. So I called her up and she came over. She arrived at about midnight. And then she slept on the sofa. Me and my husband, well, I say we went to bed. My husband slept, and then I was on the bouncy ball, like leaning on the side of the bed watching The Big Bang Theory. As I do. If you know me, you know that's my favourite TV show. So I was watching The Big Bang Theory, and it got to about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they were really starting to get intense. They were starting to pick up, and I had the TENS machine on by this point, like the electrodes on your back. And I had that up to like 2/3 of the maximum, and like I was trying, like it just wasn't hitting it. And they were starting to come like every 3 minutes, lasting for like a minute and a half. So I was like, oh, I know the hospital usually wants you to call when it's like 5 minutes apart. So I was like, oh, probably should call them now. So I woke up my husband, and we gave him a call, and they were like, oh, can I just hear you having a contraction on the phone? I'm like, what can you tell from that? Like, not every woman screams during a contraction. Like, I was pretty zen, even like all the way up to the end. Well, I'll get to that bit. But she was listening, she was just like, okay, have paracetamol and have a bath. So I went into the bath, and I think this was about 3 o'clock-ish, no, 4 probably by now. Got into the bath, and it started helping at the beginning. Oh, is my son waking up? Little man's down for a nap, so I might need to like keep popping in and out, because then he might start crying. You know what it's like. So anyway, I'd gotten into the bath at about 4, and then I was in there for an hour. I kid you not, it felt like 10 minutes, because I was like on all fours. I was lying back. I was like trying to get my husband to like press on my back, because I had so much back labour. It was insane. Like, this wasn't just like cramps in the front. I couldn't even feel cramps in the front, to be fair. It was all in my back. It was awful. So They were coming like every 2 minutes probably by this point. And we were in there for an hour, and I was like, right, this ain't working, it's getting unbearable, we need to go in. Because before this, like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna just try and stick it out as long as I can at home, and then go in, hopefully I'll be like 5-6 centimeters, go in, pop this baby out, you know, proper optimistic like every woman is before labor. So we call them up again, we're like, right, we're coming in. So we pack up the car, and then we drive to the hospital. My mum's not familiar with where we live, so we're going over potholes. I was trying to direct her and have a contraction at the same time. I was like, oh, go left, go left. Like, I can't even remake the noise that I was making. It was like, such a weird noise. But you got to do what you got to do to get through labour, right? So I was trying to give her directions, and then we'd pre-driven before, me and my husband, so we knew where to go and park. So we went to the parking place, and when I'm not in labour, it took like 10 to 15 minutes to walk from the car park to labour and delivery. In labour, I swear, it must have taken us like 20 minutes, half an hour. I was stopping like every minute to have a contraction, and I was like, if they're every minute lasting for a minute, damn, like I must be close. So we like kept stopping, and like my husband would have to lean on my back, and he's like 6 foot and I'm like 5'3". So like the height difference and the weight difference, like I was getting him to put all of his body weight on my lower back, because I was in such agony, just like right in my lower back then. Oh, it was horrible, just like rethinking it. So we walk in, and it was one of the midwives that I'd seen previously, because I thought I was like leaking waters like 6 weeks before, and it was she was such a nice midwife. But by the time we got there, it was starting to get towards like shift changeover, so I knew we weren't going to have her, so I was a bit sad about that. But we got in, and they were like checking my notes, and they were like, okay, you know, just get comfy and we'll come and examine you in like 20 minutes, half an hour. So they did blood pressure, they did all of that, and then she checked me. Consider I'm having really intense contractions, like I'm making noises through it and all of that. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. She checks me, or 7:30 by this point, and I'm only 2 centimeters. 2 centimeters. I just thought I was being a worse. I was like, damn, this labouring is hard. I know people say it is, but this is awful. So she was like, right, obviously we can't admit you right now, usually, but like, do you want to go home? Do you want to stay? Like, what's your thing? So I was like, you know what, let's go home. I'd rather be like comfortable, labouring at home, getting like nice drinks, and like didn't have to wear my headscarf, walking around, like doing all that. So I was like, right, I'll go home. But even as she was filling out my notes for me to leave, I was really, really heavily contracting, like leaning over a chair. And just as she was giving me my papers, she was like, are you sure you want to go home? Like, sure you don't want to stay? I was like, no, it's fine, I'll go. Because the women in my family were very much like troopers. Like, even with, I had appendicitis when I was younger, and I swear I waited for like 6-7 hours before we went to the hospital with that, and that was agony as well. So I was like, right, we'll go home. And I kid you not, on the way back, we were stopping, like on the way back to the car, we were stopping every 10 feet. It was literally like contraction, 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 walk, 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 contraction, contraction, contraction. Literally, I couldn't walk probably more than 10 meters, honestly. And then my mum was like, are you crazy? Like, why are we going home? And I was just like, come on, let's just do it. Let's just go. Because I thought, I'll get home, I'll be comfy. Like, I'll like try and chill on the sofa, just get comfortable. So we got in the car, and the drive back was so awful. I remember my mum hitting one pothole, and I was like, like making all these noises, like trying to just like, I was literally white knuckle riding it. And my mum's driving is not the best. Well, it is the best, but it's kind of reckless. So when I'm having contractions, it was even worse. So we get home, and I kid you not, we were probably home for about 40 minutes. And it got to the point I was literally like leaning over on the table, and I couldn't stop. Like, I was just sobbing, crying. My tears were just falling directly onto the table, like pooling over. And I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this. So I get into the car again, going back to labour and delivery again. Oh, the birth centre, because I was low risk, so we went to the birth centre. And like, they were like, okay, well, we can't check you yet, because it had only been like an hour. But this time, like, my mum had dropped us off and then gone and parked, because you know where she was going by that point. So like, we got there, and they were like, we can't check you yet. Like, usually at this early stage, we don't check you for like 2 hours in between. So obviously my last one was at 7:30. This was at about 8:30, maybe getting towards 9 o'clock-ish. And then they were like, you know what? Get in the bath. Let's try the bath. So I got in, and by this point, my contractions, I kid you not, this is why I really want people to understand it was a traumatic labour, because by this point, my contractions were every 20 to 30 seconds, if not every 10 seconds. And it wasn't like, oh, there's a gap of no contraction, and then it builds and builds and builds and builds, and then we have like the worst part of the contraction for like 10 seconds, then it goes down. It was literally like 10 seconds, no contraction, and then it would be about 5 seconds. It would be like, oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then it would be at the peak of pain for like a minute, and then it would die down 5 to 10 seconds, and then have a break for 10 seconds, and it would come straight back up. It was awful. But I got into the bath, and for like 5 minutes, I only had like 2 contractions. It was lush. It was delicious. I was like, if labour is like this, I can do it. Let's stay in the bath. 5 minutes later, they came back with a vengeance. And by that point, because you know, like birth pools are a lot deeper than baths, I was obviously like leaning on, and then my husband was trying to press on my lower back still because I could not stand the back labour. He bent so far in the pool, he was like dunking his hair in. So he was getting a little shampoo and conditioner action in there. So he was dunking his head into the pool, trying to press as hard as he could on my lower back to help me cope. And I looked over at the midwife. I'm not gonna lie, I have a bit of beef with this midwife. Like, I don't know whether she was busy, whether she was new. I have no idea what was going on. But I honestly can say, like, she didn't do anything to help me through my contractions. All she did was offer me drugs, which is, like, I don't even think she read my birth plan, but that was the last thing I wanted. I did not want drugs. Or, well, I wanted some, but, like, I was very specific about the ones I didn't want. But, like, she didn't give me any breathing guidance. She didn't give me any encouragement. She literally sat on the sofa and just watched me. And I don't know whether that's the way it's supposed to be. If there's any midwives out there, like, tell me. But she literally just sat on the sofa and watched me for, like, an hour. So it got to around about 9:15. I was still in the pool, and I was like, can I have gas and air yet? Because, obviously, I hadn't been examined. And in my head, I thought you had to be in active labour to have gas and air. And she was like, oh, yeah, you could have had that ages ago if you wanted. You could have told me whilst you're watching me suffer. Like, I know they go through it every day, and, like, a woman going through labour, of course it's painful and, like, it's normal for them. But obviously this is my first birth and my first labour. Like, don't assume that I know these things. So she gave me gas and air, and it kind of helped, but I have a phobia of being sick. So I was breathing on it. I was like, but then it was making me feel sick, so I didn't want it at the same time. But then I did want it to help with the pain, because it kind of just like zoned me out a little bit. So it was such like an internal battle. I was like, I want the gas and air, but I don't want it because I feel like I'm going to throw up. And by that point, everybody was like, oh, do you want a snack? Oh, eat something. Oh, drink something. I literally did not want anything. I was like, I feel sick. Are you people crazy? Because they're like, oh, labour's going to go on for a while, so you're going to need your energy. Which obviously I know, like, especially for first babies is the case. But at this point, I was like, I do not want anything. I'm going to throw up everywhere. So I got to like 9:30. They were like, right, do you want to be examined? And I was like, you know what? I've just had the gas and air. I can handle this for like another half an hour. So it got to 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. It had been 2 hours. And then I was 4 centimetres. And I was having these contractions still like every 10 to 20 seconds, lasting for a minute. No breaks in between. It was the most awful thing I've ever gone through. I was literally like on my knees on the floor, like, I can't do this anymore. And then I was like, what are my other options? So I think she gave me codeine to begin with, like a better paracetamol. I can't remember. But she definitely gave me some pills, and I think codeine was in there. And then that wasn't working. So then she was like, right, do you want the pethidine? And my mum had told me about pethidine from when she had my sister. It was her first birth, and they gave her pethidine, and she was like, it knocked me out. I woke up, I was 10 centimetres. They were like, you need to start pushing. So I was like, you know what? I've had enough of this. I can't take it anymore. Give me the pethidine. And this is where I really get some beef with the midwife. So obviously she goes and like she's filling out paperwork, and I'm looking over. I'm like, where's the pethidine? Is it coming? It had been like half an hour by this point, or it felt like it at least. And I was really, really starting to not manage it. Like, no amount of pushing on my back was helping with the pain anymore. So she gave me an antiemetic, like an anti-nausea injection with it. But apparently she put in the anti-nausea, left the needle in and unscrewed the antiemetic, the anti-nausea one, and then she screwed on the pethidine. But apparently when she injected, because my husband works in a hospital, so he knows how injections and stuff are supposed to go, and so then she screwed on pethidine, went to inject, but she hadn't screwed it on far enough, and half of it like squirted out. So she just gave me essentially like less than half a dose, and she pulled it out, and everyone was like, oh, you need to get on the bed because you're going to knock out in a second, you need to get on the bed. When I say all this thing did was make me feel even more sick and woozy, and like just my head was doing this the whole time. I just felt so sick, and it wasn't helping with the pain. It didn't knock me out. It didn't give me any breaks in between my contractions. So it was just awful. So I was lying on the bed, and it's so dramatic. I never thought I'd be like this in labour. But I was literally on my side kicking the wall, literally kick, like I couldn't stand it. And there was like this plastic ridge on the wall, and all I remember is like clawing at it with my nails, like doing that and trying to breathe on the gas and air all the time. Like, I'm apologising to everybody around me because I feel like I'm being the most like extra woman ever. I'm like, I'm so sorry. But the thing was, I wasn't like screaming. Every time I was having a contraction, it was more like a deep groan than like a scream. So I was clawing, I was kicking at the wall, and they were like, right, do you want an epidural? Because look at you, like, you're not managing this. I was like, just get me the epidural, please. Just get me the epidural. So they bring around like the consent thing that they have to read out before you have an epidural to be like, oh, these are the risks, blah, blah, blah. They literally could have said that like a unicorn's going to pop off your head and like you're going to give birth to a hamster. And I would have been like, yeah, it's fine. Just give me the epidural, please. Just give me the epidural. And I literally remember I was literally leaning over on the bed, just like going, yeah, it's fine, yeah, just do it. So obviously at that point I was on the birth centre, so they had to put me on the trolley and wheel me down to the delivery suite, because once you get an epidural you're more under like medical attention and medical guidance by then. So they put in a cannula in my hand, like the little needle thing, and then they wheeled me down. And I was literally, look at the way I'm dressed now, I was literally in a sports bra. That's it. Nothing else, and not even a pair of socks, nothing, just a sports bra. They were wheeling me down the corridor. Obviously they covered me over with a sheet, but then I was just like biting on the gas and air mouthpiece, because obviously they can't have it connected whilst they're wheeling you down a corridor. Just biting on it as hard as I could. I felt so bad for any women coming in that are about to go into labour. I felt so bad. I was like, I'm probably scaring the living daylights out of them. So I get into the room, and then this is where it gets so much more dramatic. I hate it. Like, honestly, when I used to talk about my labour, like up to probably about 2 months after I gave birth, I'd shake, like my legs would shake and like my hands, and like I get palpitations because it was just so traumatic. So I'm still having these contractions like every maybe 20 to 30 seconds, like 10 seconds sometimes, back to back. Oh, and also I could feel my son moving in my pelvis, because when I first got examined when I was 2 centimeters, she was like, oh, he looks like he's sideways. So he wasn't properly like in the position. Usually they come facing downwards, like to the ground, but he was sideways. And when I had a contraction, every time I could feel him moving in my pelvis. It was the weirdest sensation. So I get to the delivery suite, and they're like, right, let's get going with this epidural stuff. Like, not the top consultant, but the second to top consultant that's like nationally known comes in and tries to put the epidural in. They're like, oh, no, I can't get it. So I've got the midwife pulling down on my shoulders, trying to curve me out. I get that's what you're supposed to do, but like, she wasn't doing it in a caring way. It was really, really frustrating. I was just like, I'm trying to cooperate as much as I can. I'm literally doing my best to like hunch over to like curve my back so we can get it in. And so he tries it. No, not working. Tries it again, not working. Get me the ultrasound. I don't know how many times to try before the ultrasound. They get the ultrasound. He's trying to put it in. And I kid you not, he cannot put it in. I'm on my side. I'm back up again. They're trying to monitor the baby. Obviously, they've got the straps with the monitoring things on my belly, and then they think that the baby's heart rate's dropping, but it turns out it's mine. I think it was like in the 80s or 90s, So they thought, oh God, the baby's heart rate's dropping. So I've got the midwife, not only have I got like, she's trying to get me to curl over as much as possible, then she's like jamming the monitor up into like the bottom of my belly. I don't know how to describe it. She's crouched on the floor, jamming this monitor up, trying to get the baby's heartbeat. So then they put a clip on the baby's head to get a better reading. He was absolutely fine. So then they were like, right, maybe try like lying on your side and we'll try again. They tried 5 times to give me an epidural. I was on my side and then I was just like, I just think you should know I'm pushing. Like, I can't help it, I'm pushing. And they examined me and I was fully dilated. And this was at 1 o'clock. So at 10 o'clock in the morning, I was 4 centimetres, which is considered like active labour. And in 3 hours, I'd gone from a 4 to a 10. Gets even crazier in a second if you know birth terms. So I've gone from a 4 to a 10. I was like, oh, I'm pushing, I can't help it. And then they discovered that my baby is back to back. If anybody knows what a back to back labour is like, basically instead of the baby facing downwards, the baby's facing upwards, which means the back of their head essentially is pressing on your spine and on all the nerves there, like people that know about sciatica and all of that. That's where the baby's head is pushing every time you have a contraction, and that's why it can be so unbearable. And apparently like 7 out of 10 times, if it's a back-to-back labour, it stalls or it lasts forever, and then you need to have an emergency C-section. So considering that in 3 hours I progressed to 10 centimetres with a back-to-back baby, even my mum said, she's had 2 kids, and she said like, I've never gone through the kind of pain that you went through in that. Like, both of my labours were nothing in comparison to that. So it gets to 1 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I'm pushing, I can't help it. So they like, pack up everything, epidural, not going to happen. You're just going to do this naturally, which obviously no woman wants to hear when they're at the point that you want an epidural because you're in so much pain. No woman wants to hear that they're not going to get it. So I'm like leaning up on the back of my bed, essentially on like all fours. And I kid you not, the second that I went into the pushing stage, I had like this peace and like tranquility, and like it wasn't painful anymore. I was just so focused, and I don't know whether he'd moved down so it was a better position, but I literally had no pain. And this is why like I wish people would listen to like the entirety of my story, because people are like, oh no, you're scaring me, like labour sounds awful. But I kid you not, the part that's like that every woman should be scared about, like pushing, the baby actually coming out, was the most enjoyable part of my labour. I absolutely loved the pushing stage. With every like push, I could feel him moving down. I was counting in my head. I feel like I didn't make as much noise in the pushing stage. So like I did 2 counts of 10 in my head, and then if the contraction was still there, I'd do another count of 5 to 10. And really like I was so like focused and intense, and like everything was like focused internally. And I could feel him moving down, and literally like he was basically out, like the head wasn't out of the skin, but it was out of the pelvis, if that makes sense. Like kind of like push the skin, but it hadn't like popped out yet. TMI. But it was basically out, and they were like, oh, we need you to turn onto your back. I've literally got a baby's head hanging essentially basically out between my legs, and they wanted me to turn over between a contraction, which like literally had like 20 seconds between my contractions. So I managed to turn over with a baby essentially between my legs. And I kid you not, in one push, usually they expect you to do a push, head comes out, wait for the next contraction, do another push, the body comes out. In one push, it was like he came out, loads of water came out, because at that point my waters hadn't really broke. So he came out, waters came out, everything. I swear, like half my organs felt like they were coming out. It was such a big relief. But the thing was, I don't remember the ring of fire, like where it's supposed to burn when the baby's head's coming. I don't remember any of that. I don't know whether I felt it in the moment, but I feel like I just turned over and just whoosh, like he just went. Oh, it's really dark. Try and like lighten it up, but then it's probably going to get bright again, innit? So yeah, literally he came out, like all the water like splashed all over the table, and my husband said it was really funny because when he came out, he didn't cry immediately, which obviously as a mum worries you, but apparently he came out and like the midwife didn't even have a time to catch him, and he just like flopped out onto the table, and apparently he was still like curled up in like the fetal position, almost like he didn't realise he'd been born yet, because it just happened so quick. But you know, they picked him up and then he was like, oh, what's happening? And it was so cute. And then like they put him onto my belly, and then like he started crying, he peed all over me. It was just beautiful. And then, to be fair, I really wanted to do it a lot more like skin to skin, but they kind of just like, they gave him to me and I cuddled him for like less than a minute, and then they took him. Like, I swear this midwife didn't even read my birth plan. There were so many things that I wanted to happen that she just did not make happen. So they took him, cleaned him off, did all of that, wrapped him all up and gave him to my husband. And then obviously as Muslims, we like say the call to prayer, like when they're first born. But the thing was, because they'd like taken the baby from me, wrapped him all up, and then like given them to my husband, by this point she was only just starting to like stitch me back up. So my husband's doing like, I mean, it's not his fault, obviously. I know it needs to be done like as soon as you can, and obviously that was a good time for him to do it. But like, I just remember looking over and I could hear him, like he was already halfway through it. And it's just one of those moments, especially as a Muslim, like you want to cherish, you want to like absorb, you want to remember. I literally just remember looking over and being like, oh, he's already doing it, whilst this woman's like stitching me up and doing all that. Ideally I wanted like him to be like on my chest. Like there was nothing wrong with him, he was breathing fine, he had loads of colour, like his heart rate was fine the whole time through like the labour. But for some reason she just took him off, and like I wanted to like breastfeed him immediately, and that didn't happen until like maybe like an hour-ish after. So yeah, it was all like, I didn't even cry. I feel like everything happened so quickly. And not that it was an anticlimax, obviously, like I've just given birth, it was like the best day of my life, but I feel like I just didn't really realise what went on, because like apart from my husband and my mum, oh yeah, my mum ended up being there. I really didn't plan on her witnessing me giving birth, but it just kind of happened that way. And I'm kind of glad, because my husband needed the support as well, because it was so insane. But like, I just feel like I didn't have any support from the staff at all. Like I don't remember her being like, oh, you can do it. Oh, everything was so medical. It was like, oh, you need to turn over, I need to do this, I need to do that. I mean, she was like a young-ish midwife. I don't know how long she's been qualified, but the patient care really wasn't there. And like it, you know, some women are like, oh, I wouldn't have been able to do it without my midwife. I genuinely can say like, I really wish I'd had a different one, because I feel like if somebody was there talking me through it, helping coach me through it, like I did end up doing it all natural essentially, apart from like Gassinet, because the Pethidine didn't even work. So I feel like if I'd had that extra support of a professional there, that I would have really been able to do it naturally. But yeah, it was a bit of an anticlimax at the end. And I hate saying that, because obviously I love my son and it was his birth, and it was, I can't even say it was the most incredible experience. How bad is that? But like that first day or two was just, it was just crazy. Like when I was in the hospital, I'm a new mum, I have no idea what I'm doing. And like I was trying to breastfeed and somebody just came over and like, oh yeah, he's on. But as I later found out, I was having loads of breastfeeding troubles. Nobody would really come and see me unless like I pushed a buzzer for them to come. So yeah, it was a bit of a crazy thing. Like I'm so happy. I mean, like my son's healthy, he's happy. He was born 6 pounds 6 ounces. He's adorable. He had hair. He's got little green eyes now, so they were like kind of lightish at birth anyway, which we're kind of excited about. And he was gorgeous, and like his little feet and his little hand. Oh my god, it was just so cute. But I just feel like, one, back-to-back labour made it horrible. 2, fast back-to-back labour. The fact that I was having 10 to 20 seconds between my contractions, and they were the most intense contractions I've ever felt. Like I'd never felt any pain in my stomach, in my tummy. I literally could only feel the pain from like my lower back. That was it. That's all I remember about my birth. And then just having a midwife that really wasn't interested in how I wanted to do things. I don't remember asking her, like she didn't ask a lot of questions about like, what do you want? I don't even remember asking like, where is your birth plan? Do you even have one? Like, I just feel like there could have been so much more patient care there. So that was my labour and delivery. It wasn't traumatic in terms of like the medical sense, but I feel like everything happened so quickly and I didn't have the support from the staff that I needed. So I really was like traumatized by it, because I feel like everything was just happening. Nobody was really explaining things to me, and I knew what was going on, but just have a bit of like encouragement, like, yes, this is normal, and yes, you can do it. Like, I was just assuming I could do it. I was just like, yeah, fair enough, I'm here. But it was not the best experience. Regardless of that though, I can't wait for my next one, which is ridiculous, because the way I see it is, I've had, aside from like, yes, I know like if you go have a C-section, that's awful, and like I really respect mums that have C-sections, or like forceps delivery, or, you know, ventouse, the vacuum delivery. I really respect women that have all of that, and I can understand why that may also be traumatic, or women that hemorrhage and all of that. But like, for me, it was very traumatic. It was very intense. I didn't know what was going on. It was my first birth, and nothing was like being explained as being normal. So I was just managing it in the moment. But I can't wait for the next one, because I know that, like, for me, if I can get through that, I know I can get through a lot more. Like, or it's not even a lot more. Like, I feel like I've gone through some of the worst labour pains that I could have had. So if I go in and I'm like having contractions every 2 minutes, lasting for a minute, I'll just be laying back like, damn, this is easy. Like, especially if it's not back to back, it's gonna be lush. And I know there's gonna be loads of women that'll probably be like, oh, you're stupid, but my labour was legit awful. It was awful. So that's kind of like the end of the story as far as labour and delivery goes. But I definitely need to make a video on breastfeeding, like my entire breastfeeding journey, because it has been a roller coaster, and I feel like it wasn't until I was in the thick of things, and until you're in the moment, you don't realise all these different things that start playing into it. I'm definitely going to do a breastfeeding story, because I feel like people do need to know some of the things that I didn't even know until I went through it. Oh, I'm just babbling now. Can you tell I'm sleep deprived? These dark circles, don't tell you. But anyway, yeah, if you're a girl and you're watching this, like, just know you can do it. Or if you're a woman and you're about to go through labour, or you want to become pregnant in the near future, like, you can do it. Like, I went through some awful pain, but I got there in the end without an epidural. I survived. My son's fine, I'm fine, life's good. That's basically what I want you to take from this video. But I'm gonna go make a cup of tea before my son wakes up, probably from his nap, because it's been like 40 minutes, so it's probably gonna be any time now. So I'll see you when I see you. Bye.